Welcome to another AMA with Kadena Ecosystem. In this episode, we will be speaking with the team from Certik. This conversation was recorded on January 13th, 2023, live on Twitter Spaces. The views and expressions in this AMA do not represent the views of Kadena Ecosystem directly and are not to be considered as financial advice. Please make sure to do your own research on the projects presented. Also make sure to follow our account to be alerted of new uploads. Now let's get started. Enjoy. Welcome everybody to another AMA with Kadena Ecosystem. Today we are talking with the team from Certik. Certik is a very cool Web3 security firm, which is definitely going to be providing a lot of really good use cases and a lot of things for the community. And they're slowly working their way into Kadena. So I'd like to welcome Mikhail and Chase from Certik. Welcome, welcome. Let's just start off. Either of you guys can take this. You can fight over who wants to do it. But just a brief little description of what Certik is. And one thing I like to ask all of the people who come here for AMAs is also a brief little history on what and how you got into crypto. Because I find a lot of people have some really interesting stories. So go right away.
Yeah, so
Sure.
I'll take this one.
Go ahead, Chase.
So let's see how I got into crypto. It was in 2017, and a friend just kind of pitched the idea. I was big on Ethereum first, kind of grew into Bitcoin later, but I remember I was a broke college student, and just kind of it's not an interesting story at all. I'm sure other people have much more interesting ones, but just started down the rabbit hole, started researching like crazy, giving pitches to everybody I know about, all the use cases for Ethereum and smart contracts and whatnot. And that just kind of grew and grew. And I was working at a anti-money laundering firm prior to joining Certik, and I just wanted to get my foot in the door in the industry because I was spending all of my time learning about it and investing in it. So I kind of wanted to, do it career-wise as well. So then I started working at Certik about 2 years ago. And a little background on Certik. So we're the industry-leading blockchain security company, Web3 security company, whatever you want to call it. We were founded in 2018 by our two co-founders who still are professors of cybersecurity at Yale and Columbia. They kind of just saw a need for security in this space. They're very traditional Web 2, but on the security side, but they're into the Web3 world and crypto in general. So they kind of saw the need for security in this space, and that kind of vision has grown into about a 300-person company, and we've secured over $350 billion worth of assets in this space. So, we're constantly looking for new clients to work with and achieve our goal of securing the Web3 world.
Yeah, well put by Chase. As for myself, I'm Mikhail. I am part of the strategic partnerships and business development side here at Certik, and just want to thank the Kadena Ecosystem for having us on. Really great to be here, and big fan of all the development that's happening in the space, which I'm sure we'll get to. As for my story, it's nothing to write a book about, but my journey into the Web3 world started when the pandemic occurred, and at the time I was in traditional banking and decided to step down, not knowing what the implications were from COVID, and that's a whole other story. But it was one of the best things that happened to me. Put me in a very uncomfortable place, as you can imagine. I sat at home collecting unemployment checks, trying to figure out what was going to be my next move. Put out a bunch of resumes, nothing was sticking, and a buddy of mine said, "Hey, you have that banking experience. You may like what's happening in the blockchain space." I heard about Bitcoin before, but as you can imagine, in the traditional banking world, the perception wasn't all that positive, and so I dismissed it originally when I was in banking, but decided I'm at a point where my back's up against the wall. Maybe I should study this up and see if there's anything behind it, and never looked back. I took Coursera classes, got a little bit of experience, broke into the industry by working for a marketing company. I was making less money than I was sitting at home collecting unemployment checks, and yet I was much more happy. That kind of goes to show you I was probably in it for the right reasons. And as I was talking to tons of projects, kept seeing this Certik name pop up, and decided to go down that rabbit hole. Submitted my resume, and ended up getting this position here. Been here since August 2021. It's been a very, very fortunate experience for me, learning all the different angles of Web3, from DeFi to NFTs, and everything else that makes up of this space, and having the opportunity to understand some of the trends and where people's eyeballs are, and going and meeting people in real life at conferences. It's been truly an amazing experience. As far as Certik, just to add on to what Chase said, we've uncovered over 60,000 vulnerabilities, and we've conducted over 3,700 audits. So it's been a long journey for Certik, and a lonely one, because as we strive to secure the Web3 world, it's we feel like we've got an obligation to this industry to help this space, and there's a lot of work to be done. So that's pretty much it.
Awesome. We share a somewhat similar story. I was a 20-year chef before getting into crypto. I found crypto in around 2017, and then realized, like you said, when COVID came, being in the restaurant business, I knew my days were probably numbered, and that I should maybe try to find something more fitting for the environment that we are moved into now. And I think a lot of people were forced, the work from home aspect was very thing. And Web3 and crypto is always looking for people. And it's something that you can do from home, from your computer. You don't have to necessarily be in an office or anything like that. So I think a lot of people made that jump. And I know, like you said, I, for one, couldn't be happier that I did take that jump. It was a little scary at first, but once you get into it, if crypto is something that you loved anyhow, which I did, it was kind of a no-brainer just to be like, okay, this is going to be my next platform in life that I go. And I was happy that I took it as well. So very cool stories. You guys have awesome stories. Now let's get into Certek. There's a lot to do with Certek. You guys have been around, like you said, for a few years now, which is actually quite a long time when you look at the crypto space. You've been in for like over 25% of the entire life of crypto. So that's quite an impressive resume. And you guys are working with many different blockchains along the ways, and you seem to have a fairly decent size team. What was it that made you start to look into Kadena? Was it the tech? Was it a personal, like someone on your team was like, hey, maybe we should look into this? Or was this brought to you by the community?
Yeah, I could take this one. So for me personally, I originally was introduced to Kadena by a YouTuber. Part of staying up to date is just watching some of the videos, and it originally caught my attention that way. And then I started looking at the ecosystem a little bit closer, and noticed that there was some traction there. They were bringing on some cohorts. There was a grant program. So I really felt like the foundation was trying to support a lot of the builders. And I learned a little bit about the background and how it was started by the folks over at JP Morgan. And, that carries a name for itself. And I started to set up calls with certain builders that are building on Kadena, and everyone had nothing but positive things to say, and talking about certain benefits and why they prefer it over some of the other reputable ecosystems that most of us are familiar with. And so, since we're in Web3 and we're always looking towards the future, and we think about, okay, what's next? We had to look at it more carefully and wonder, like, could this be the future? Right? Could this be part of the future? And I think it remains to be seen, but I think everything points to the right direction right now. And right now is a very critical time to pay attention to, because everyone is focused on development, and the developments that are happening right now is what will translate to success in the future. And so I'm very much in tune and paying attention to what's happening in the space.
Awesome. Yeah, it's quite the space, and comparable to other already existing platforms like Ethereum and the big names and stuff like that. Kadena is right at the very start, really. Like, it's been around for a few years now, but it's still very much in its infancy. But it is very quickly, like, we've been doing Kadena Ecosystem now for almost a year. It'll be a year and a couple months here. And the amount of growth has been just exponential in the past year. It went from there being 4 or 5, like 1 or 2 NFT projects and like 1 DEX or 2 DEX, to having over 120 different projects just boom, just blew up on the ecosystem. So it's definitely something that I believe people should keep their eye on. And something that really took me back when I was researching it was one of the discussions that I think it was Will that said that in the future he believes that there's going to be many blockchains, and that there is a space, there's lots of room for many blockchains, and that it's not going to be one chain to rule them all, kind of Lord of the Rings kind of thing. So that it's very cool to see that companies like yourselves are branching out and taking notice of these emerging chains and seeing the potential that's in them. So let's break down now the different products you guys offer. You offer a whole slew of amazing, cool things that a lot of projects could really take advantage of. So let's just go right down the list. The very first one that most people are probably most aware that you offer, of course, is the audits. Now, we know that in the Kadena ecosystem right now, you guys are working with X Wallet to do an audit for their wallet application, which is awesome. A lot of people love, when they see that a company is taking the time and putting in the effort to make sure that their products and applications are secure and safe. So what, besides, like, you guys are definitely not the only player in the auditing space. There's quite a few different companies now offering this service, but you are one of the ones that have been around for a longer time than a lot of them. So what really sets you guys apart from those other firms that are offering the somewhat same services?
Yeah, so I can take this one. So, I mean, we do have quite a few services now, and audits are a very crucial first step, I would say. But it's not an end all be all. It's not a silver bullet. It doesn't fully protect the project from anything. And I mean, audits are a snapshot in time of the code. So the audit gets done, you can fix the vulnerabilities, but then if there's any updates or there's a bunch of different things that could go wrong, and you kind of have to. So we created a whole kind of ecosystem of services to get that full protection. I mean, the KYC came about from the increase in rug pulls we saw last year. So that's one thing we provided to try to help community members more and provide more trust and transparency in the space. And then we have things like Skynet, which the best way I describe it is an audit is a snapshot of time of the code, but then Skynet is like a 24/7 security camera essentially that monitors the smart contracts for any vulnerabilities or changes or anything like that. But I'll let Mikhail take some more about our auditing process. But yeah, I mean, over time, things come about and we see more of a need for certain services such as bug bounty, penetration testing, KYC, Skynet. So, I mean, this is an ever changing space. And if audits were all that would be needed for the security in the space, that'd be great. But unfortunately, that's not how it is. And, projects need that full rounded security system.
Yeah, and just to follow up with what Chase just mentioned, I mean, the easiest way to look at it is we provide the full end-to-end security solution. And so these are solutions that are proactive and then solutions that are reactive. And what I mean by that is you can take certain preventative measures to help you avoid risks and exploits. And worst case scenario, if something was to go wrong, does your security service provider, are they able to help and support you accomplish whatever desired outcome you're looking for based on that particular event? And so when you look at bug bounty and security audit and penetration testing and all these different things, really what you're looking at is just a combination of solutions that are able to provide and cover the full gambit, right? From the start to all the way to the finish, uh, proactive, reactive. And then also, we know that this space is changing so rapidly, and there are new exploits that occur on, seems like, on a monthly basis. So, does your security firm, do they have the resources? Do they have the talent and also resources to be able to accommodate this ever changing landscape, very quick changing, right? And so, since we have over 300 employees and over half of them are engineers, engineers from Microsoft, Facebook, and we have the tools, right? This is the other aspect. Because we've conducted over 3,700 audits, we have a lot of data to be able to recognize a vulnerability during an auditing process. Excuse me. So these are just some of the things that come to mind in terms of setting ourselves apart from some of the other talented firms that you may find in the space.
Now, when it comes to these audits, since Kadena is a fairly new blockchain and one that you guys are starting to pick up, was there anything in particular that you guys had to do on your side for your team to deal with the fact that it runs Pact, a completely different smart chain contract system than all the other blockchains? Did you have to spend some time educating yourself first on Pact and how it operates to be able to provide an inclusive auditing system for projects that want your services?
Absolutely. And that goes back to just having the resources because our team is large enough. We're also able to, be able to take our engineers and provide the resources that they need in order to be educated on the different languages. And so when you ask us what kind of languages can we accommodate, well, we can accommodate just about any major language that exists right now. And that's because our engineers are constantly learning about the latest and greatest. It's almost like a cat and mouse chase between security and innovation. We're constantly chasing the innovation. And it's one of those things where we'll never fully be up to speed because of how fast the innovation is moving. But we've been very successful in keeping up with it, and part of that success is our team of engineers being able to adapt and learn about all the new things that are happening, not only from a vulnerability standpoint, but as you mentioned, Pact and some of the other languages that are newer in this space.
Yeah, it's definitely a growing system that is every day, every week, seems like there's something new that's being developed in crypto, and staying on top of it can be just an absolutely daunting task. Even when you just focus on one ecosystem like Kadena, there's stuff happening all the time that is constantly upgrading, changing, things like that. So it's definitely a task just in itself to keep up with that. Now, you mentioned that one of the kind of um, what's the word I'm looking for? One of the auxiliary the options that you offer is something called Skynet. Now, I hear the word Skynet, of course, like probably almost everyone listening to this that
I know
is,
where you're going.
going is over the age of like 20 or so, automatically thinks Terminator, Skynet, scary robots that are going to come kill us all. Obviously, that's not what this is. It's definitely not. You akin it more to like a security cam. So this would be something like after you get your audit done, this would be kind of a follow-up system for production and development moving forward. Could you explain a little bit more how it works?
Yeah, so this is probably one of my favorite products we offer because I'm on the marketing side of things, and I work with the communities a lot. So Skynet is basically a two-sided. Oh, well, first I'll preface it by saying no, it has nothing to do with the Terminator. If I had a dollar every time I've heard that question, I could probably retire. But no correlation there. It just happens to be the same name, I guess. It was made before I was around, but yeah. So Skynet is basically a two-sided tool. On one side of it, it provides transparency and information for the community about the project's health. So, you can go on and it has, well, every project that gets Skynet, we give them a trust score, which is basically a score out of 100 about the overall safety of a project. So that kind of gives users, a very quick look at how secure a project is. And then, it comes with other things such as price analysis, social analysis, volatility and liquidity metrics, on-chain monitoring intelligence, and a lot more. So if any project has Skynet that we've worked with, you can go to their project page on Certik.com and kind of go through and look at all these different modules, we call them. And, it's a good way to give users an inside look at a project's health. You can just scroll through, see how they're trending on social media. You can see any large transfers on chain. You can see the liquidity on different dexes and sexes and all that kind of stuff. So it really is a good way for communities just to kind of keep up with the project and kind of see what's going on all on one page. And then on the other side of it is kind of the security side for the project team. And yeah, as I mentioned earlier, the best way to describe it is a 24/7 monitoring camera. So the audit does the most of the work, but then this kind of sits in the back and makes sure everything's running smoothly, essentially. So it can identify any anomalies like active flash loan detection. It has DEX liquidity monitoring, so it can alert us and the team if there's any crazy things going on that maybe they haven't seen yet. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely best paired with an audit. It's just kind of an extra tool that we have to kind of keep an eye on everything, make sure everything's running as smoothly as possible. And yeah, that's kind of the best way I know how to describe it.
Now, to complement Skynet, you also have something called Skytrace. Can you maybe explain a little bit what Skytrace is? And from what I see on the website, it says it only works for Ethereum and Bitcoin smart chain wallets. Is that correct? And if so, if that's correct, any plans on supporting Kadena for that as well?
Yeah, so I'll take this at the beginning, Michael, and then you can kind of add on whatever I don't. But so we're always looking at kind of new chains to add to it. It's a newer tool for us. We're still, working out tweaks and all that stuff and making it as smoothly as possible. But essentially, it's a asset tracing tool. So even our internal investigators, when we do investigations on any exploits or anything, we'll use this to follow the trace of funds, see where a hacker moved money and all that stuff. So you can input any wallet address and, I mean, for fun, you can go in and put yours in and see, where all that money has been. Yeah, it's just a cool tool to use to, if you find some hacker's address, you can go in, put that wallet in, and even look for yourself of where they're moving money, how much money they're moving to each wallet, all that kind of stuff. So it's just a cool little tool. It's free for everybody to use. We don't offer this as a service or anything, but I don't know if you have anything else to add to that, Mikhail.
Yeah, like Chase just mentioned, it's right now it's a tool for anybody that wants to be able to trace, the address of a wallet, primarily on Ethereum and Binance. But if you're a project and you've experienced, some type of exploit, you'll probably need something a little bit more robust, and that's where you will contact Certik. You can contact me directly, or you can contact the Certik page. And give us a little bit more in-depth explanation about what happened, what you're looking to accomplish, and internally we've got the resources to be able to do a much more in-depth analysis. But yeah, so Skytrace is just more for people to be able to play around with it and be able to trace the flow of suspicious funds.
Very cool, because that's something that a lot of people I think would just be interested to play with, because I personally have never had my wallet hacked or funds stolen, just because I've always practiced the proper wallet security practices, like making sure your phrases and private keys are saved offline and don't share them with anyone for absolutely any reason whatsoever. But that sounds like something that a lot of people definitely would be really cool to use, because there's a lot of hackers out there. There's a lot of really big, especially Ethereum accounts with a lot of funds in them that people have stolen over the years. It would just be kind of neat to see where all these funds have been, where they've gone, just something really neat to see. So going back to another tool that you guys mentioned earlier is the KYC Factor. Now, moving forward, there's a lot of bad actors out there. There's a lot of people running IDOs and things like that. and not offering any of these kind of things like KYC or audits, which I believe is a huge mistake. I believe that offering KYC should be an automatic go-to for pretty much any project, because it is just another example of security and shows that you want to make sure that everyone is safe and everyone gets a fair share and everything like that. So let's talk a little bit about the KYC thing and what how projects can utilize it.
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, this kind of came about, the increase in rug pulls and kind of just bad actors in general in this space that we've seen. But especially in this space, it's an interesting and often a hot topic because, kind of the ethos of crypto and blockchain technology was built on, people remaining anonymous and kind of built there's big projects who have anonymous founder. I mean, Satoshi. I mean, even
Hey, Chase,
so,
I think you might have been breaking in and out. I don't know if that was just on my end or.
Sounded good on my end, so it might have been on yours.
okay, cool. Yeah, so I mean, it's a touchy subject, of course, and people have different opinions on it. So our KYC service that we created, we offer that option for projects still to remain completely anonymous to the whole ecosystem in general, but we secure their information very privately and securely to where they only have to give their information to us. We give them a badge on Certik.com, and we kind of give transparency and trust that way without them having to fully dox themselves. Because it's a dangerous world we live in, and not everyone who runs a project and has money wants to be publicly known, and we kind of get that. So we've created the KYC service kind of around that. And we have different tiers. There's gold, silver, and bronze. So, depending on how many of the team members get KYC'd and their location, that'll kind of change the level that they receive. So, for example, if you're in a country with, maybe better regulation and crypto laws in general, that'll lean you towards a gold more than if you're in a country where if you do something, we necessarily can't do much about it, and that'll give you like a lower end. So, and about our KYC team, it's quite an interesting team. We have people with backgrounds in FBI, law enforcement, military intelligence, all this stuff, and I can confidently say it is the most robust and probably best KYC out there. It involves, it's not just an ID check. There's background checks. There's one-on-one live interviews. There's a whole thing. It's a very in-depth investigation into each one of the team members. And typically it's not just one person because, we've put out some content lately of, bad actors within a team going rogue and stealing funds that way. So we try to KYC as many people in the project as possible. Typically that's around 4 or 5 of the main people, whether it be engineers, CEOs, whatever it be. And, we've had we've done quite a few hundred KYCs, and we've had one project rug pull. So it's a pretty high success rate, I would say. And, we put up a blog post on how we handle that. We take all their information, give it to the correct law enforcement, and so we have ex-FBI people, and they can create the whole draft of everything the FBI law enforcement needs. Their work is basically done for them. We do it all for them. We pass that along and make sure they're held accountable, because that's one thing that's been plaguing this space is the bad actors. Most of the news or media attention crypto gets, it's typically around something negative. So, this is just one way that we've found that we can kind of combat that.
I think one good example of what you just said there of it's the actors in the space, it's the people that are bad, it's not the tech. When the whole FTX thing happened, even JP Morgan came out and said it wasn't the tech that failed, it was the people behind it that failed. And just having this option to make sure that the people are real people, they're verified, and that you have their information in case they do something like that and decide to steal everyone's money, that you can pass that information on to the proper law enforcement. Because like you said, crypto originally started to be this, fight against the system and everyone should be anonymous and all this kind of stuff. But when it comes to running, like you can run a decentralized system, but there has to be some kind of centralized entity at the top to run the front end, because you're just talking about code here. Someone still needs to make a website, make things so like with buttons that activate everything, and you want to make sure that those people are on the up and up, and that they're not stealing your information or have access to your funds, things like that. So this is I feel like KYC is something that has to be implemented until we have a broader sense of regulation put in place.
Yeah, and just to add on, we recently put out a blog and a few tweets on this underground ring of KYC actors. So, I mean, I don't want to knock competitors or any other people doing KYC, but there's a whole underground world of fake KYC actors that go on. And, when you just do a simple ID check, that doesn't solve the problem. There's ways around that. So we've and I would recommend everyone kind of go read that blog post. It's about rogue kind of KYC actors, and it's a very interesting article, but it just explains, you can hire somebody for $5 to $10 to do your KYC for your project for you. So, a simple ID check or anything like that just doesn't really cut it anymore with the technology that's out there. And, people can do a lot. So, with our live interviews, our background checks, everything, it kind of puts a stop to that and makes sure, they're real people. They're really behind the project. It's not some dude they hired on Fiverr to do a KYC check for them. And I think that's an important thing that people have to realize. Like KYC at face value, yeah, it's good, but how good is it actually doing? Like, you know what I mean? It's not always as secure as you think it is. So I would definitely, we're trying to get that message across that a simple ID check doesn't cut it anymore, and it has to be a more robust system.
Now, this KYC option that you offer, is it only for project teams to be KYC'd? Or, for example, if a project wanted to, say, run an IDO, do you offer KYC for people that are buying into their IDO to go through? Or is it just strictly on the project level?
Right now, it's primarily on the project level. We've kind of been working it out and offering it as a service to, launch pads and stuff like this to kind of do as much as we can. But yeah, for right now, it's mainly around the project teams that we work with audits and stuff like that.
Awesome. Now, penetration tracking. That sounds, I want to say a little kinky. It sounds like, I don't know what exactly it could mean. It could mean a lot of different things. But when you guys say penetration tracking, what exactly does that entail, and what exactly are you tracking when it comes to that?
So it's actually penetration testing. So, but I like where your head's going with this. Maybe we can work that into one of our services. Just kidding. So just to give you an idea of what penetration testing is, essentially we are looking at DApps or it could be a GameFi or a Launchpad. Anything that has a web app or mobile app, Chrome extension, all of these platforms are not necessarily running on smart contracts, but there are certain code base around the smart contracts that you also want to make sure doesn't have any vulnerabilities. And you would run what's called a penetration testing, which that's a whole other process than smart contract auditing. But a lot of times when you're doing a full audit of the smart contracts and penetration testing, the way the information is being flowed from the back end, and this may be like getting too technical, but the way the information is flowed from the API into the smart contracts, that dictates a lot of times how you would conduct the audit of the smart contracts. So, and this is one of the reasons why it is important to have a full end-to-end security solution, because it's not just the smart contracts, right? Web3 is built on top of Web2. So you want to make sure that the back end, the front end is also secure, which a lot of times entails penetration testing.
Yeah, I'll just add on to that penetration testing, it's pretty much a Web 2. It's been around for a while. It's a very common service. It's basically just, we run tests, essentially just, looking for vulnerabilities in a application, wallet, anything like that. Just we have ethical hackers on the team who kind of go in and see if there's any vulnerabilities. They try to get through it, essentially. And then, we report those vulnerabilities that we find to the team. They can fix them. But yeah, that's about it.
Now, you mentioned a very scary word in the technical sphere, hackers. That probably entails into the next section I wanted to get into is your bug bounty section. So you said that you employ hackers of your own. Were these people that were already like developers on your team, or were these hackers that you found in the ecosystem and were like pretty much, hey, you want to come work for us and do something good in life instead of being these hackers? Because there's different types of hackers out there. People don't understand that there's people automatically assume that a hacker is someone that wants to do something bad to you. Whereas there's a lot of hackers out there that are doing it for the benefit of the community. They're going in, they're finding these vulnerabilities and going, and then reporting them to the projects and being like, hey, this is the vulnerability I found. Why don't you guys fix it? So how did you guys come across this? And can people, like, if there's anyone listening right now that's very Kadena related, and are like could call themselves a hacker, are you in taking on more people for that kind of role?
I'll let Mikhail take the bulk of this, but just to kind of preface this, there's many different types of hackers out there. There's the ones who mean harm and want to take all your money. There's ones who did that, got in trouble, and now they're on the right side. There's some who just, want to do it for the good. And to answer the question about who we bring on, it's kind of people we've had in house. A lot of this, the engineer, it kind of goes hand in hand with the skills needed to do that. And then some we've just found and kind of brought on. It's there's a lot of interesting people out there, and some want to do good, some want to do bad.
Yeah, so in regards to the bug bounty program, it's essentially open to anyone in the community. And we have a few partnerships with hacker programs where we're able to access a network of known and trusted ethical hackers. And so anybody within the Kadena ecosystem, of course, is more than welcome to be part of it. And, as more and more development occurs, within the Kadena ecosystem, then I think that will become more and more of a need. But anyone can come to our website, look, and submit bugs for rewards, essentially.
Now, are these rewards paid out by Certek, or are these rewards put up by, like, so for example, let's just throw a hypothetical out there that us at Eucalyptus throw up Koala Wallet and someone finds a bug in it. Is it something that then they go through Koala Wallet, or would it be something they work directly with you?
They would work with Koala Wallet, but we would help them administer that entire process.
Awesome. I was just using that as an example. So along with your bug bounty, you also have something called incident report. What exactly does that entail? And what if you find someone that has an incident, like a hack is happening and something like that? What do you do to help those and support those who have been affected?
Chase, you want to take this, or you want me to take this one?
You take it, and then I'll follow up with anything I think we missed.
Sure. So, incident response, we have an entire team that works around the clock in uh, tracking to make sure that there's nothing suspicious going on. And if there is, our goal is to essentially stop the bleeding, to remediate the situation. And there are a few other folks that are doing something similar in this space, but the main features that we have that is unique. Some of our, I guess, quote unquote competitors offer this. Some of them do not, but it's a 24-hour 24/7 hotline. There's tracing and labeling funds involved. We can get the local authorities involved because we've got those specific connections. We can assist with the asset recovery, expert testimonies. There's a lot of different features that entail that some of our competitors may not necessarily provide in this all-encompassing service to help projects to potentially even recover the funds, right? It really depends on what it is that they're looking to accomplish, but essentially we want to act fast
We actually have a Twitter account. Chase, is it Certik Alerts, I believe it's called?
Yeah, at Certik Alert. And the incident response at a high level, it's essentially if a project that's never even worked with us, we've never had communication, they see something's going on in their project, they can reach out to our hotline that's 24/7. I mean, I don't think there's ever been an hour where someone wasn't on there. And if there's a hack or anything like that going on, we can kind of go in, stop the bleeding, make sure everything's fixed, and then there's after solutions such like Mikhail mentioned, like tracing the funds, see where they are, use our network of law enforcement throughout the world, and kind of let them know what's going on. They can do the that side of things. But yeah, I mean, high level, it's just a service to where if something goes bad, we're here to help. Essentially, like we can go in, stop the bleeding, help find the funds, full end to end. If there is an exploit on some project, even if we've never worked with you or anything, we're always there to help.
Yeah, and what's truly unique is this, police style reporting that we offer, because I don't know some of our competitors if majority of them have the resources or the connections to be able to administer something like that. But that's something unique that we do that others don't. So, if you're a project and you're thinking about getting an audit, I think you should also consider, what's a one-stop shop that I could work with, a company that I can work with, not only to be proactive and to get my smart contracts audited, but who's going to be able to provide me the full end-to-end solution. And when things go wrong, and hopefully they don't, but in the event that they do, who can be there for me that understands me? It's almost like going to a doctor, right? If you have a primary care physician, are you going to want to go to multiple doctors? Well, yes, if your primary care physician is going to make that recommendation, but most likely your primary care physician is going to want to know everything about you, your whole entire medical history. So why would you want to go to different auditors when you can have everything in one place? Your security audits, your penetration testing, your bug bounties, and also for those reactive services, having something like a incident response team to be able to support you and help you.
Yeah, that's a very important thing to be offering, for sure. And just, I don't know if you guys can actually speak on this, but have you had any major incident reports brought into you guys that you've been able to effectively stop or help? Any that you can name or mention, or is that kind of like something that you're not allowed to talk about, or depends on the team?
Yeah, I won't mention names, but we've had quite a few. I mean, luckily it doesn't happen as often as you'd think, I don't think, but yeah, we've had quite a handful or more of these incidents, where we kind of go in and help solve the situation. But no, I won't name the projects, but yeah, it is something that we do offer and we're currently, utilizing with projects.
And do you find that most of these incidents are on the Web3 side or on the Web2 side? I would imagine most of them probably come from the Web2 side.
I'm not completely sure on that answer. I would say it's a little bit of both, but yeah, I'm not privy to, which ones or the whole process. That's kind of another team that handles all that. And I don't ask too many questions on my marketing side of things, but yeah, I'm not too sure how to answer that, but I would say it's a little bit of both, I would guess.
It is a little bit of both. There's a lot of stuff that's happening within the community, of course. Private keys gets, exploited, but some of it happens on the smart contract side. If you're looking at, something like a bridge exploit, right? A lot of bridges, they get exploited because there's just not enough nodes running. And so you have 9 nodes, you take over 5 of them. Well, you have, over 50% attack. So, there's a lot of vulnerabilities, and they're kind of all over the place in terms of the sources of them. Some of them are Web2 related, and some of them are Web3, and that's why it's just all the more reason to make sure that you have all-encompassing solution that covers both.
Now, one final product I noticed you guys offer in your long list of products is called formal verification. How is this different from a security audit, and like what exactly does that entail?
Yeah, I'll preface with this by saying it's a very complicated thing, and I'm not fully privy to it, or should probably speak on it too much. But essentially, it is a mathematic way to prove that your smart contracts work as intended. It's kind of an automated way to do auditing that we pair with the manual review of code. So, yeah, there's a lot of this I don't know about because I'm not on the auditing side of things. But yeah, all in all, it's basically a mathematical automated way to kind of scan smart contracts and make sure that it works essentially. And then that's best paired with we usually do it. I think we always do a 2-person line by line review of the code. So it's kind of, they got the automated mathematical genius way, and then you got the human side of things to make sure nothing's missed. But yeah, I get asked about this a lot, and I should probably learn more about it. But it is a very complicated topic that a bunch of big words that I don't fully understand. So I apologize. I wish I could answer this better for you. But for anyone listening, you want to learn more, we do have a page on it on the website you can go and learn a little bit more about. And I think we're going to be putting out some more content and blogs and stuff about that because it is a very asked about topic that is very complex. And we're going to try to dumb it down as much as we can for people like me who don't understand all the big words all the time. But yeah, sorry if it's not a great answer, but I just recommend go reading about it on the website for the most part.
And I'll just add that, like to Chase's point, it is a mathematical way to prove, the accuracy of smart contracts, and it's considered to be one of the more better ways to be able to, uncover exploits. It's something that our co-founders have spent a very long time studying and educating, and it is a core component of what happens during an auditing process. So it is part of the other components where we have a heuristic analysis, and we have a expert manual review, and then there's a dynamic analysis. We also do a structural and design audit. So there's a lot of components that go into the auditing process. A lot of times it's a case by case basis where we'll first sit down with a client and understand what the potential vulnerabilities are. Like, what are they worried about? So, we do like a threat modeling, is what it's called, where we get an understanding of what it is that they're building. What's the methodology, understand the functions, and then from there we can have a better understanding of what kind of process to put in place in order to ensure that the client gets the desired outcome.
Yeah, typically I leave this up to our PhD people to explain, but yeah, it's essentially a tool that we created that scans contracts, and it's an AI essentially, and that's best paired with the human eye as well. So it's kind of a all around way that we found to do these audits. Is one, you have the AI version, and then two, you have the human eye. So they kind of balance each other out. There's some things that a human won't catch that an AI can. There's some things that AI won't catch that a human can. So it's kind of the best way that we figured to kind of go about this auditing process.
I think I pretty much understand it. It's an automated AI that looks through the contract, and I think a way I could probably equate it to that other people might understand is ChatGPT, the thing that everyone's been talking about lately. It's great. It puts out great answers, but sometimes those answers are a little bit off, and you need the human eye, you need the human experience to review things, go through things, make sure that everything is correct, and you can't always rely on these automated systems, and the human factor is always going to be the final straw and the final say. So it's good to hear that you're implementing these systems, though. It's just another way of looking at things and another way to provide even more security for the coding, which is really, when it comes to Web3 and crypto, that's the most important thing, is making sure that the backend code is 100% secure and fail-proof. Because if it's not, you're going to run into major issues down the road, and possibly like the demise of your entire project could come to it. I know that throughout the years, there's probably been many projects that have released their code or released their chain and everything, and then down the road, all of a sudden someone finds an exploit and boom, just drains the entire project or whatever. It's a scary thing to think of that could happen, but as long as people do their due diligence and go through a good respectable company like Certik and making sure that those things aren't going to happen. So it's very definitely, like you said, it's you guys are offering a very needed and very much used application when it comes to crypto and it comes to this space. And like you said, being an all-in-one inclusive, everything you need under one roof is going to definitely drive a lot more, and it's probably one of the main reasons why you guys are one of the top verification and auditing firms. So yeah, it's amazing, all these different tools that you offer, and that I think a lot of projects should definitely step up and be aware of Certik, and hopefully AMAs like this will bring more people, because I'm sure there's lots of projects out there that could definitely use these tools and use these skills that you guys offer. So very great to hear. Now, if anyone listening, we got a few minutes left here. I'd like to open it up. If anyone has any questions, feel free to send in a request to speak, and we'll pull you up here. But I want to definitely thank both of you guys for joining. I learned so much today about Certek. I've been looking into you guys for a couple months now, actually, ever since I first heard, and it was because I really like the companies that are there for the community and to protect us, because we need more and more of those. It's a wild west space out there right now with crypto, so we got to make sure that people are safe and people are protected. So I want to thank you guys for providing such a great service and also coming to talk with us today and talk about it.
So Matt Hawkins here from Andromeda. I've got just to throw my hat in the ring here for Certik and this blended approach, this hybrid approach of AI and human. I flew an F-18 for 28 years. That when we first got the F-18, it was human eyes only, and as the AI became more trusted to carry out a hybrid role, we use AI to satisfy some of the requirements to satisfy legal rules of engagement to actually engage with lethal weapons. By the end of the time that I left, we could use the AI completely to satisfy those rules without the human eye, but we kept the human eye in it to make sure it was right. Today, the guys that I trained to grow up and be leaders of the Marine Corps are retired from the Marine Corps, and now the Marine Corps is going to a 50-50 split of manned airplanes and unmanned airplanes that are all AI driven as their new future. So this is an evolution in progress, and Certik is leading the way. So thanks for that.
Awesome. Yeah, it's an interesting way. Yeah, it's an interesting thing to talk about, and I mean, AI is a ever growing technology as well, and everyone's worried like, is it going to take over? And I don't. I think you do need that human eye accompanying it as well. It's a great technology, and you can either work with it or against it. And, it's you got to use the pros of it and kind of balance it out. But yeah, it's a great tool to use.
Yeah, we're definitely moving to a different environment, a different space, and people are always scared that like AI is going to turn into like the Terminator type situation where one day we're going to have to fight these machines that we've built. But I don't feel like it's that way. I feel people need to embrace it. Like there's also the whole thing of automation and people saying how computers and automation are going to take everyone's jobs and things like that. And quite honestly, I've always been on the mindset of let it take over those jobs. I would much rather have a robot cook my burger at McDonald's and know that it's going to be right 100% every single time, so that those people can go out and live their lives to the fullest and do things that they love, have more art, have more skilled labor, things like that. And just people need to start realizing that this is going to be the future. This has been the way future has been going ever since the computer was invented. So the less people fight it and the more people accept it and find a way to utilize it for the better for everyone is just the way things need to go. And crypto and AI need to work hand in hand to make sure that the world is not just safe, but also accessible and easy for everyone to use.
For sure. And I think I saw something on socials the other day about there's the first fully automated McDonald's or something in Texas. So
yep.
Maybe you can fly down there and get yourself a AI cooked burger.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's exactly why I said that, because I saw that they are now coming out with these fully automated places. Like they even have some stores over in Asia and stuff where there's no employees in the store at all. You scan your way in, and then to get out, you have to pay for the items you have, and you scan all the items. So like this is the future that we're moving towards. So hopefully people will get on board instead of fighting it. So I want to thank both Mikhail and Chase for joining us today. Certek is an absolutely amazing project, and anyone that's listening to this and has a project of their own and wants to make sure that it is safe and secure for the future, make sure you guys check out Certek, check out their website, follow all of their Twitter accounts, follow Mikhail, follow everyone, and get involved. So thank you guys for joining us today.
Absolutely, it was a pleasure to be part of this space, and I'm certainly excited about all the activity that's happening in the Kadena ecosystem. And I've been talking closely with a lot of the builders, so just want to thank you and your amazing community. Anybody here that's following Certek, not following Kadena ecosystem, make sure you do so for all the latest updates. We love being part of these Twitter spaces and get into a chance to introduce our communities to each other. And yeah, for anybody that has any questions, any concerns from a security standpoint, if you're a builder and you're building in Web3, feel free to DM me. My door is always open. We can always have a conversation about what you're building, and I'm always curious to learn more about what's happening in this space and what's being built. So don't be a stranger. Feel free to reach out, and happy to talk to you.
Yeah, thanks for having us on. I'm always happy to, hop on, talk about security, talk about Certik, and, what we're kind of doing in the space and share that message as much as possible. So thanks again for having us on.
Of course, of course. Hopefully we can do this again in the future. And like I said, for everyone listening, go follow Certek, check out their website, and utilize their services if you need them. So thank you absolutely everyone for coming out tonight and listening. And take care and have a great day.
See you guys.
You as well. Take care. Bye-bye now.
That wraps up another amazing AMA. Thank you for listening. Here at KPN, we strive to bring an open platform for projects being built on Kadena to present themselves to the community. Please ensure to do your own research on each project before investing. Also ensure to follow us on all our social media from Twitter to subscribing to our weekly newsletter to ensure to keep up to date on everything KDA related. You can find all the links in the description below. Take care.